Hey everybody, and welcome back to Shou plays Seduce Me. This time we're, at Grandfather's grave. My mind barely considered the idea that it was my father, but it couldn't have been him. Familiar brown hair crowned this person's head instead of the black and gray my father had. It was vaguely familiar. Oh, is that kid from the party? Andrew? It was indeed Andrew. He was dressed in casual clothes, but he was giving his respects to my grandfather. I was curious as to why. I quietly stepped closer and approached Andrew and the grave, being careful not to scare Andrew. At my footsteps, Andrew turned to see me, and realizing it was me, turned fully to me.
Oh, Miss Anderson. I'm sorry. I'll just...
No, it's okay, you could stay. Andrew quickly shook his head and took a step to leave. You're fine. I stopped him with a hand and smiled. He was merely paying his respects. There was no need for me to intrude. Andrew stared at me before smiling and nodding, returning to his place in front of the grave. He took a sidestep to make room for me, so I stepped next to him. I looked to the grave, running my gaze through the engraving in the stone slab before gently laying my bouquet down by it. However, I didn't stand back up. I gently sat down on the grass in front of the grave and stared at it.
Lilies?
Yeah, why not? Common flowers for gravestones, yeah? My grandfather didn't have a favorite flower. I heard and felt Andrew gently crouch down and sit beside me. I turned my head to look at him, catching him nodding in acknowledgement to my statement. I turned back to the grave, letting out a small sigh. So, can I ask why you came here?
I came to pay my respects. He was someone I really idolized.
I guess Samantha too. I turned my head to him again, confused. Idolized?
Mm-hmm. He inspired me to work hard and make people happy. When I interned for his company, he was the first person to greet me at the doors with open arms, even before my father.
Wow, I'm not sure if that speaks well of my grandfather or harshly of your father. I almost couldn't believe what I was hearing. However, the look in Andrew's eyes made my heart break. He truly idolized my grandfather like he was his own grandfather.
Your grandfather was an amazing man, but I'm sure I don't have to tell you that. He treated me better than my dad ever could. All my dad cares about is me becoming the CEO. But Harold Anderson? No.
We have a lot in common. I could practically feel my lips move in sync with Andrew's as he continued to speak, almost hearing my grandfather speak a lot alongside him in the air.
He said, "Don't worry about it so much. You have plenty of time to decide. Besides, you should do what makes you happy instead."
I see, so he didn't want competition. He said that to me, too. Andrew turned to me in surprise before smiling.
Really? He cared a lot about you. There were days that he wouldn't stop talking about you and compared you to me.
That's weird. I felt a blush run across my face. What things did he say?
Well, he told me how cute you were and how you loved to make people happy. He also said you always had the perfect ideas for his toys.
He's probably talking about when I was like 5 or 6, 7. 7 is when I met him. Yes, I remember this. I felt a smile grow on my face, remembering the small moment when I had helped him design his now most popular toy, the glowing heart bear. I didn't realize how proud of me he was because I was small, but now that I was older, I was able to understand. He always had me help him, even when I didn't feel like I could. He was the greatest person ever in my life. He treated me better than my dad.
How does your dad treat you?
He's pretty harsh to me. He wants me to be the CEO of the company as well, since it's technically a family business.
He's strict, like my dad. Well, if it ever came to a time where the board had to decide a CEO, I'd gladly give it up for you.
But what if I don't want to be the CEO? Not that I'm gonna tell you that. At least I hope I don't. I couldn't help but raise an eyebrow. Didn't he want the position? Why? Don't you want to be the CEO? To my surprise, Andrew shook his head with a goofy smile.
I don't. My dad wants me to take over the Anderson company, but I really am not sure if I want to or not. Sure, making toys is great and helping people is something I want to do, but I don't know if I want to head the company.
Why not? You're not sure what you want to do. Just like me.
You don't want to be a CEO either?
I mean, it sounds like a nice job. I shook my head. Andrew let out a small laugh.
Man, we must be the worst kids on the planet. Our dads want us to take over a company, but we don't even want to. Imagine what would happen if they actually liked each other.
I'm trying to, but I'm drawing a blank here. Help me out. I couldn't help but laugh with him. We were in the same boat, yet we were on opposing sides. It was like Romeo versus Juliet, two families competing for one goal, but the competitors didn't want to even try to reach that goal. Andrew gently stopped laughing and smiled at me.
Your grandfather was right about one thing, though. You are really cute.
Oh, we're at a gravestone. Can you please not? I don't think that's very respectful. The blush that had faded from my face suddenly returned at his words. I looked away from him, making him laugh again.
Sorry, it's true. Cross my heart.
This is way too lighthearted for a gravestone. He only died 3 days ago, man. Thanks? He was flattering me. I had to admit, he was cute too, but I had only known him a short while. It wasn't realistic to like him more than that. Andrew cleared his throat and sat up straight, rubbing the back of his neck.
I'll let you have some time with your grandfather. I don't have anywhere to be, so I'll wait by the gates and give you a ride home when you're done.
I'm not sure I trust you. You can go home. I'll be okay, but thanks anyway. Andrew nodded and bid me farewell. Before leaving the cemetery past the gates, I sighed and looked to the grave. I bet you're laughing at me. I practically glared at the grave, but after a brief second, I smiled. He's a sweet guy, and he's a big fan of yours. Who wouldn't be? Cared for everyone, no matter who they were. I gently ran a finger over one of the lilies in the bouquet. It was soft to touch, but my mind was filled with Andrew for some reason. Was this grandfather's plan? Did he hope for me to meet Andrew as a kindred spirit? I wouldn't be surprised. I chuckled softly before standing. I'll be fine, Grandpa. Andrew's a good guy, but who knows? I shrugged before letting out a sigh and turning back to the cemetery gate. You can't quite know he's a good guy yet, you know? You only just met him. I took a glance back to the grave before walking out and heading home. I went to my room and remained there until dinner. The remainder of the night passed by, surprisingly uneventful. The boys continued to train with each other, but were kind enough to stop and make me dinner. I was glad for that. Unsurprisingly, the food was perfect, but it felt a little empty without the boys to eat with me. They most likely had already eaten, but still, I felt lonely. I couldn't let it bother me. I ate and went back to my room to study and sleep. Surprisingly, I felt good going to bed that night. I felt like I could have a peaceful sleep after the previous rough nights I had. I felt good. I drifted to sleep and woke up almost flawlessly that next morning. No grogginess, no aches, perfectly energized and bright-eyed. Man, how long has it been since I got that much good sleep? I looked to my alarm clock. I woke up 10 minutes before my alarm. Well, hey, I must be lucky today. Karma owed me some luck. After all I had gone through in merely a handful of days, I deserved to get some good luck. Ecstatic for the day ahead, I turned off my alarms before they could ring and got dressed. However, my phone started to quickly buzz from an incoming text. Huh? Who's texting me this early?
Yo, Anderson! You're carpooling with us from now on. We're not letting you waste your money on a bus. Get ready and be at your gate at 7 stat.
That's pretty cool, thanks, Suzu. I smiled. My friends were the best. I couldn't drive yet, and I didn't have a car, so it was awesome that my friends would let me carpool. I checked the time. 6:30. Perfect. I can eat some breakfast before they come. I packed my bag and carried it downstairs into the kitchen. I quickly made myself coffee and toast, not having time for anything big. I let out a soft sigh in happiness as I sipped my coffee. It felt great, and I felt like nothing could stop me today. Come at me, Day. I'm ready for you. Now you're just asking for it. I looked at the time again. Time to go. I quickly rushed to the doors, checking myself in the passing mirror. I wasn't wanting to impress anyone, but I still needed to look decent. And right on cue, Peebles drove up to the gates with Suzu waving me down. I rushed out the door and we headed to school, talking about homework and the coming day. We made it into the school without a hitch. Our lockers were in the same part of the hall, so we quickly unloaded what we needed to and got our important books and necessities. First incident of the day. As I walked towards Suzu and Peebles, who were both waiting on me on the opposite side of the hall, something hooked my ankle and it made me fall forward. Ow!
Hey, are you okay?
No.
Who did that?
My whole day is ruined now. The three of us looked back to see Lisette and her gaggle of girls. Lisette had a look of complete innocence while the girls around her giggled like no tomorrow.
Why, you little...
Maybe it wasn't Lisette. Maybe it was one of her minions.
Suzu, don't!
I felt a giant fire of anger burn in my stomach as I stared at Lisette. Today was not the only time this had happened to me. However, it was now clear who was behind these incidents. Even as she was innocent and one of her goons did it, it was now obvious that Lisette was the mastermind just from the look on her face. She was no friend, nor would she ever be. I had to do something. Get her, glare into her soul, stand up and walk away. I'm not sure what get her implies, but I'm going to glare into her soul. I glared hard at Lisette, feeling wisps of air and magic run through my skin and veins. However, I stopped at what I saw. Around Lisette was a dark purple aura that seemed all too familiar. It was like demon magic, but it seemed to be tamer. I slowly rose to my feet, collecting my belongings as I continued to stare at Lisette. Something was off. As I continued to look at her, the aura grew, forming a shadow behind Lisette with red eye-like shapes, glowing from within its darkness.
Anderson, you alright?
Nope. I couldn't respond. I was entranced by a small hum in the air. It was distant, almost like an ethereal whisper you'd hear in horror games. But it was real. It sounded vaguely of a woman, humming a tune I didn't recognize.
Hey, are you okay?
Let's go. We'll be late for class. I suddenly felt the need to walk away, so I did. Peebles and Suzu scrambled to catch up and follow at my new quickened pace.
Sheesh, Anderson. You look like you saw a ghost.
I probably did.
Are you really okay? That fall was pretty bad.
Maybe I have a concussion.
Think she saw underneath Lisette's cake face and saw the devil itself.
You're not far off, Suzu.
Oh, Suzu, hush!
No. Something was wrong with Lisette. It was more than just her being mean. There was something, or someone, watching over Lisette. Or they were watching me behind Lisette. What they were doing, I don't know, but it was definitely demonic. Surprisingly, the rest of the school day went off without another incident. I went to my classes, had lunch, and was anxious to get home. As the bell rang for school to end, I felt my phone vibrate in my pocket. Huh? A text? From Dad? I'll be picking you up today. Make sure you're ready to go when I get there. That's kind of a surprise. I quickly headed back to my locker and got my things before waiting for PV and Suzu.
Hey, are you ready to go?
Yeah, but I can't go with you guys today. Actually, my dad's picking me up.
Really? Okay, I guess that kind of makes sense.
Does it? Have you met the guy?
We'll drive home together next time. Tell your dad that we've got you covered from now on.
Okay, I will. Thanks, PB. Yeah, alright. Even while I laughed, something didn't seem right. My dad texted me to say this? Why was he going to pick me up? Had I done something wrong? I didn't know. I waved goodbye to Bubblegum and Suzu before heading off to the usual spot where my dad picks me up. I took the time to listen to my music while I waited. I need to go to another Rise of the Phoenix concert. Eventually, I had played the entire album with no one showing up. Dad's never late, especially not this late. I quickly dialed my dad's number again, but as soon as I pressed call, it disconnected and read a signal disconnection error message. No signal error? How do I have no signal? I double-checked my phone and saw all 5 bars for signal. He must be in a dead zone. Before I could finish, a group of hands grabbed at my hands and feet and covered my mouth. I screamed into the hand over my mouth, struggling to pull away from the hands grabbing at my limbs. It felt disgusting and scary. Feeling their hands on me, I needed it to stop.
Hey! Don't dirty up Malix's prey!
The voice, which sent a fearful shiver down my spine, whispered into my ear. That was more like a scream, actually.
You're coming with me, Miss Anderson.
I don't think I really have a choice. Things just happened to me. I couldn't fathom what was happening, but before I knew it, I was blindfolded and my limbs were quickly tied up. I felt myself being carried somewhere and was shoved into something that echoed the interior of a bus or a van. The doors closed and off I was taken, unsure of where I was going and why. Apparently I didn't kick or scream or anything. All I knew was that I was in trouble. All I saw was darkness. I felt numb as I was taken to a place I didn't know of. I couldn't even move my lips to scream. Sounds zipped past my ears. First, of the interior of a car, then the outside, then an echoey space with whispers and cackles of people vibrating through it. However, the wrap around my eyes was eventually removed from my face, and my bonds were cut. It took a while for my eyes to adjust, but I found myself in a warehouse, surrounded by devils, including Malix, who was smirking at me.
Nicely done! I'm sure those little shits will come running to find you when they realize you didn't return to your precious little mansion. They'll search everywhere.
They've known me for like 3 days. I don't think they actually care. Malix walked over and set the barrel of his gun against the skin between my eyes.
It'll be so funny when they find your dead body instead.
You think they're even coming? Fight. No way this was happening. No way I was going to let myself be a victim of this. Gotta remember, what was in that book?
What are you whimpering? Are you praying that the boys will come and save you?
I don't need anyone to save me. I kept grumbling, trying to remember and shut my eyes. Studying for a brief second wasn't enough to keep a spell in my mind, but I had to try something. Anything. All of a sudden, Shou cut the episode, and we'll see what happens next time.